G'day everybody, Sean from Bourbon Brothers here, looking at our second bourbon in our August release. Baker's from Jim Beam. So Baker's is a straight bourbon from Beam Suntory from the Jim Beam distillery. It comes in at 107 proof. It's aged for 7 years. It's mash bill, 77% corn, 13% rye and 10% malted barley. Baker's Bourbon is one of 4 bourbons that comprise Jim Beam's small batch collection. The others in the series are the Basil Hayden's, which we looked at in our very first video, Knob Creek and Booker's Bourbon. Baker's falls third in line proof-wise, with Basil Hayden's and Knob Creek carrying lower proof and Booker's being proofed the highest of the 4. Baker's Bourbon is named after Baker Beam, grandnephew of the legendary Jim Beam. Baker's is an interesting conundrum. Where Basil Hayden's and Knob Creek have lost their age statements, Baker's continues to hold on to its 7 years. When compared to the entire lineup in general, Baker's ends up containing some of the sweetness and heat seen in Booker's, along with the bold flavour profile seen in Knob Creek. Baker's delivers an above average sip. In a world of disappearing age statements, I love that Baker's has held on to its 7-year age statement. That really helps it stand out. So that's a little bit about the bourbon. Let's give it a shot. So that one's got much more depth of colour, kind of that a dark copper. Nice legs. So you get some heavy baking spices, cinnamon and oak up front. While 107 proof isn't exactly low, the ethanol on the nose is very forward and in your face. It doesn't impart a negative experience, however it does make the nose deceive you into thinking it could almost be a barrel-proof bourbon. Lingering behind the ethanol is that light trace of vanilla that we come to know in bourbon. Baking spices lead the sip. They're joined with aged oak, leather, a hint of vanilla and a healthy hit of brown sugar sweetness. It's hot, but thankfully drinks more mellow than the nose leads you to believe. A sweet and flavourful sip after all. The sweetness carries over from the palate to the start of the finish. Drier oak, leather and vanilla merge with a long lingering heat. The heat and dry oak remain while dropping off the sweeter parts. The heat grips your mouth and doesn't let go, bringing you back to believing this is a higher proof bourbon than the listed 107 proof. It is a bold way to finish the sip. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you're enjoying your journey. Cheers. The others in the series are the Basil Hayden's, which we looked at in our first video, Knob Creek and Booker's Bourbon. You're a bird into my life. Baker's Bourbon is named after Baker Beam, grandnephew of the legendary can't remember where his hand was. I think it was over here.